Good morning. I'm here at Fisherman's Wharf at Pier 41 in San Francisco, and I'm going to do something today that I've been wanting to do for quite a while, which is visit Angel Island State Park. Now, I bought tickets for the ferry that takes you here back in January, and then, like I mentioned in my last video out in the field, we had a period of several months of really constant rain and never got a chance to use my tickets. So now here we are towards the end of June, almost 6 months later, and I'm finally getting a chance to do what I had intended and go visit the Angel Island State Park. So you can kind of see it behind me. It's not super big, but you can see Alcatraz there behind me, and then the larger sort of landmass that you see is Angel Island, and that's where I'm headed. And you can see I'm standing on this pier here. Behind me is the Blue and Gold Ferry, which is what I'll be taking to get there. I think it's going to take me to Angel Island, and then on the way back, it goes to Tiburon, which is in Marin County on the other side of Golden Gate Bridge, and then back around to Pier 41. Thanks to San Francisco's wonderful public transportation, I was about 10 to 15 minutes late for the 9:45 ferry, though just missed that, so I'm now going to have to wait for 11:25, but that's alright. That gives me a chance to enjoy the view here and do this little intro for the video. So I'm going to take some video from the ferry on the way there and do some photography and some exploring around Angel Island. I've never been to Angel Island, even though I've lived in San Francisco for 7 years now, so I'm really excited to finally get a chance to check it out and see not only what it looks like on the island, but also the views of the city from the island, which are supposed to be spectacular. I'm also really lucky that I got very good weather today. For the past few weeks, we've had really unfortunate weather that's been either completely flat blue skies or completely overcast and no sort of clouds or any sort of interesting cloud patterns are in between. But today, you can see behind me, there's quite nice cloud patterns. So even though I'm not going to be able to be on Angel Island at a time when I will get to shoot some photos during golden hour, this is about as good as I could do in terms of having a nice, interesting sky for some of the landscape photography that I'm going to be doing. The first ferry over there is at 9:45, which is the one I missed. So here in the summer, that's significantly after golden hour, so there wouldn't be a way to get a morning sunrise from the island. And the last ferry back is something like 2 in the afternoon, which is long, long before sundown. So unfortunately, there's no way to get golden hour or sunrise or sunset photos on Angel Island. But this is, like I said, this is about as good as I could do in terms of weather, so I think I picked a good day to do it. About a week ago, I got my first neutral density filter. Neutral density filters are a filter that you can put on the front of your camera that will intentionally darken the image so that you have to use a longer shutter speed in order to get the correct exposure. And you might want to do this if you want to do an intentional long exposure in an environment like this, for example, if you want to make the water look very blurred and smooth and glassy. And so I got one chance to try it out last week. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen an image I took at the beach over at Seacliff last week, where I had my first opportunity to try out the filter. The one I got is 10 stop, so it's a really pretty strong filter, and you need to change your exposure settings by quite a bit in order to get the correct exposure once you've got the filter on. But it makes for a nice long exposure, which gives you very glassy water when you're taking a photo of a body of water like the ocean. Since I have a little bit of extra time after having missed the first ferry, I decided to try out my 10-stop ND filter here with a composition of Alcatraz and Angel Island, which is what I have set up behind me. It's a really kind of a difficult thing to do technically, because the first thing you need to do is meter the scene in manual mode to kind of get the correct shutter speed for the aperture value that you're using. And then after you've gotten that set, you need to calculate what the exposure would be if you had a reduction of 10 stops of light. And you can't do this with the ND filter on the camera, because the light meter will not measure in that range correctly. You won't be able to set it. It would go generally beyond 30 seconds, and then you have a problem because your light meter, your manual mode can only go up to 30 seconds and be of shutter speed, and then you have to go into bulb mode where you control the shutter manually with a start and stop operation. So essentially you have to meter and then calculate the settings and then screw the ND filter onto the front without changing anything, without accidentally bumping the lens, either in terms of composition or in terms of the focal length. And that's kind of difficult to do, but it presents a good challenge, which I hope will come out well. It's good practice. I've created an additional challenge for myself in doing this 10-stop ND shot because I'm also using a circular polarizer, which is another filter that goes on the front. And with a circular polarizer, you actually rotate the filter on the front in order to create a different photographic effect and make sure that the filter is at the right angle to produce the sort of maximum amount of saturation in the sky and the water. So this makes it harder when I have to screw the ND filter onto the front of the lens after metering, because I might accidentally move the circular polarizer, and so I have to be very careful watching the front of it to make sure that I screw on the ND filter in a safe and tight position without moving the position of the circular polarizer. So it's quite a good technical challenge, and hopefully I will have achieved it to an acceptable degree. Have a plan for what to do here, so I just picked a path and started walking, and I came to this nice little clearing among the trees that gives a view down back onto the cove where the ship docked, and the clouds are actually really pretty right now. They have a nice pattern, so even without a golden hour, I think this is kind of a nice little viewpoint. I found a great lookout spot not too far up the road that I picked. It's got a panoramic view of Marin, which is back here behind me. This is Sausalito, and then all the way across here to Tiburon. And in the back, there's Mount Tamalpais. So I've done a few shots here, one a little bit down the way of Tiburon with some of this pretty sort of brush in the front. A little bit of foreground interest. I'm doing a telephoto shot here with Mount Tam in the background, and there's just this nice little streak of cloud right above it that's perfectly situated. I think this is going to come out great. western corner of the island, which is called the Batteries, named after the area that was used when this was a military base. And finally coming around this last corner, I came to the point where you can get some views of the Golden Gate Bridge, which you can see behind me. And over this way is downtown San Francisco. Probably a little hard to see from here, but I'm going to get closer in a minute. I wasn't sure I was going to make it down here, actually, with how slow I've been going, taking photos as I'm walking, given that the cove where you get dropped off by the ferry is on the complete opposite side of the island. But this is going to be a good view. I'm glad I'm going to get a chance to get the photos of the bridge and the city. It's a little bit hazy, and since it's pretty far away, I don't know how well I'll be able to do with just a 200 millimeter telephoto lens. But I think I can fix up the contrast and dehaze a bit in Lightroom and get a pretty good look, even though from this distance it's pretty hazy. We'll see how it goes. But here is the best vantage point of downtown San Francisco. You can see back there behind me. Done a few shots of this, and I'm trying to do one with the 10-stop ND filter to smooth out the water. But the wind is probably a little bit too strong, so at about a 15-second exposure, I'm able to get it relatively sharp but a little dark. So I've been trying for 20 seconds, but the wind is strong enough that the difference between 15 and 20 seconds results in a blurry image at 20 seconds. But it's a beautiful view. It's really nice to see the city from this angle, getting to see what it looks like when you're not inside it, which is quite a different experience. So I'm glad I got a chance to see this. Okay, I am heading back to the cove now because I've gotten pretty much every image that I was hoping to get, and then some. And also, I don't want to run out of time because the last ferry leaves at about 4:30. And apparently, if you miss the last ferry, it's very expensive to get off the island because you got to charter like a private boat or something. So I've got to give myself ample time to walk back and hopefully get a drink or something. When I got here at about noon, the line for the cafe at the cove was super long. So it was like exactly lunchtime. Didn't plan that so well. I should have brought something with me. But that's okay. I'm headed back there now, and I'm sure the line will have died down. So I think I'm going to end this video here, maybe do a little montage of some B-roll on the way back on the ferry. But I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching.